Okay, let's get right into it. There's a massive change brewing that could literally fill our skies with commercial drones. We're talking about a future that transforms everything from package delivery to emergency response. But how do we actually get there? Well, it pretty much all comes down to one critical new rulebook.
And just so you know, this is not science fiction. That number right there, over 600,000, that's how many deliveries have been made by just one company, Wing. So the tech is here, it's already working. The real question is, how do we scale it up? Because scaling up means unlocking a future that looks a whole lot like this. I mean, just imagine getting a prescription delivered to your door in minutes, not hours. Or inspecting a huge bridge or a wind turbine without ever putting a person in harm's way. This is the incredible potential we're talking about.
So, how do we make that vision a reality? Well, the key to the whole thing is a single, potentially game-changing regulatory update from the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. This could unlock that entire future.
And this right here is the key to everything. It's a proposed rule called Part 108. So what is it? Simply put, it's meant to be the first standard set of rules for flying drones beyond an operator's visual line of sight. Now, what's so important to understand here is the shift this represents. For years, if you wanted to fly a drone where you couldn't see it, you needed a special waiver, and it was a slow, case-by-case process. Part 108 is designed to replace all of that with one predictable rulebook. That's the difference between a few drones in the sky and an entire industry taking off. And listen, this is all happening right now. The proposed rule dropped in August 2025. The public gets to weigh in until early October, and then we're expecting a final decision in early 2026. So yeah, the future of the entire drone industry is literally being decided as we speak.
But of course, it's not that simple. Getting this rule right means trying to solve a huge conflict. It's really a fundamental debate between two very powerful and, honestly, very valid points of view.
And that brings us to the single biggest question at the heart of this whole thing. How in the world do you safely mix thousands of autonomous drones into the very same airspace that's already being used by passenger planes, private pilots, you name it?
The debate really boils down to these two camps. On one side, you've got the drone industry, pushing hard for innovation, for economic growth. And on the other, you have traditional aviation, whose entire focus is on maintaining the safest airspace in the world through proven, risk-averse standards.
So here's the voice of that safety camp. The Airline Pilots Association, among others, is really concerned. From their perspective, the proposed rule leans way too far in favor of the drone industry and could compromise the safety protocols that have kept air travel so incredibly safe for decades.
And then you have the counterargument from the drone folks. They see these beyond visual line of sight operations, or BVLOS, as absolutely essential. For them, this rule isn't about cutting corners on safety, it's about finally unlocking the technology's full potential to actually benefit society. So, okay, setting aside the philosophical debate for a second, there are some massive, real-world technical and operational hurdles that have to be solved before any of this can happen safely. No question about it. The biggest one, the absolute number one hurdle, is something called detect and avoid technology. The easiest way to think about it is as the drone's digital eyes and ears. This system has to allow the drone to see and automatically steer clear of everything else in the sky. We're talking everything from a 747 down to a small crop duster that isn't broadcasting its location. Solving this is, without a doubt, the single biggest technical challenge. And detect and avoid is really just the tip of the iceberg. The list of technical problems is long. For instance, how do you guarantee a constant, reliable communication link with the drone? How do you get a brand new automated drone traffic system to seamlessly talk to traditional air traffic control without creating any dangerous blind spots? These are not small problems to solve.
Then there's one of the biggest roadblocks for the businesses themselves in the proposed rule, a fleet cap. The FAA suggested capping any single company at just 24 active drones at any one time. Now, if you're a company planning a citywide delivery service, well, that number is a complete non-starter.
And believe it or not, it gets even tougher. The rule also proposes banning drone operations in densely populated urban areas. The huge problem with that? That's exactly where on-demand delivery services are most in demand and create the most value. So you have this major conflict between the proposed regulation and the actual business case.
And through all of this, we absolutely cannot forget the human factor. Public trust is everything. And while, yeah, over half the public is curious or feels positive about drones, a pretty big chunk has very real concerns. We're talking noise, privacy, and, of course, safety. Winning those people over is non-negotiable for this to work.
And look, those concerns are based on real risks. We're talking about the potential for drones to be hijacked, for their data streams to be spied on, and that very real drone anxiety people get about cameras flying over their backyards. Building a system that's secure and trustworthy is just as critical as making it safe for mid-air collisions. Which brings us to the final, incredibly difficult job ahead for the FAA. They are stuck right in the middle, trying to find that perfect balance between enabling a revolutionary new industry and upholding their #1 mission, keeping our skies safe.
At the end of the day, for the final rule to actually work, the FAA has to thread an incredibly fine needle. It has to lay out a clear path for the technology to solve these huge problems. It has to satisfy the pilot's legitimate safety concerns. It has to create a viable business model by fixing things like the fleet cap. And it has to earn the public's trust. It's a tall order. So yeah, it all comes down to this one question. The decision the FAA makes in early 2026 is going to have massive consequences. It will decide whether the US leads the world into a new drone economy, or if all this incredible potential just stays stuck on the launch pad. The stakes really couldn't be any higher.